Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our inaugural Dallas Stars franchise mode. So in last episode we started up the first season here in our 1993-94 roster build franchise mode, and unfortunately we suffered a huge loss, and that was Mike Modano going down with like a hernia injury. I didn't mean to go to view lines, I meant to go to edit lines so I could show you guys the problem with that, as we have a pretty big gap in our lineup, and it has made us suffer quite a bit since that injury. So as you can see, Neil Broughton's fine as a first line center, Evason kind of fine as a second liner. Yeah, he's fine as a second liner. Gilchrist also fine as a third liner, but Tanner Kiro is the guy who we had to call up. He's listed as a depth forward just because this build is kind of all over the place. Like there's 76s that are fourth liners, so he's listed as a depth forward, but he's just not that good at all. He has had actually 7 points, but he's a -7, and that's not really what we want on this team. So we are going to be trying to make a trade. You guys didn't suggest any trades, but when I was looking at the trading block at near the end of last episode, I did find a player that I thought would be better to have as a fourth liner while Modano is injured, and that is Mike Stapleton from the Edmonton Oilers. He's only got 1 year left, but he doesn't take a whole, like, he's a decent player. Like, when I looked at his stats, he already had 3 points in 2 games as a depth guy and a +2, so I'm hoping if he plays as like a full-time NHL guy, he could actually be pretty solid. So we're going to try and trade for him. Apparently, I think Edmonton wants like 2 4th-round picks for him, which is kind of a lot, but we're going to still do it probably just because 4th rounders don't really mean a whole lot. Maybe in this year's draft it does, but we're not going to make much more trades than that. So yeah, we'll do the 4th here, and I don't know if I could make it worse than it was because I did a trade finder and it said 2 4ths. So let's see if I could do a 4th and a 5th instead of 2 4ths, just to get Stapleton, and then Stapleton will be our center, and he'll be also a depth guy for us, and we also probably will re-sign him. Yeah, he's only 28, so we might re-sign him for another year after this, and then maybe move around pieces on that 4th line potentially. I don't know. So let's see if this goes through, and that is rejected. So I guess the 2 4ths are what we're gonna have to do. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna go back to the trade finder. The other option was to move Shane Churla as a piece of this, but I don't really want to move Shane Churla just yet. So let's see, 2 4ths for Stapleton, and that one is accepted. So welcome aboard, Mike Stapleton, which means we're going to be sending down Tanner Kiro back to the minors. Now, a funny joke about Mike Modano's injury, my buddy AJ said that basically Modano got that hernia-related injury because he was carrying the team on his back. So literally that's pretty funny because the hernia obviously is, I'm pretty sure, back injuries. So it's a pretty funny joke. So yeah, Modano is out still for, I think, like another couple days only. Yeah, I think he's not that far away, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look actually quickly, because I can't remember what he was injured to. Maybe it was March. Where is this damn injury thing? There it is. Okay, so yeah, he's back in 5 days. Once he's back, hopefully he stays healthy. I don't know if what we're gonna do with Stapleton, if he's gonna be just our depth guy, or if we want to actually play him instead of someone like Shane Churla, because Shane Churla is more of a physical presence. But that's the only trade we're probably gonna be making this season, just because, like, I don't know if this team's gonna make the playoffs because we're bottom of our division, and the Western Conference is always really tight. Like, we're at 42 points. The best team that's currently out of a playoff spot has 49 points, which is pretty crazy. Okay, let's quickly take a look. What was I going to do? Oh man, I can't even remember now, jeez. There was something I was going to do. Oh yeah, there was a trade that actually happened that you guys didn't see, because when I ended last episode, I didn't realize there was a trade that happened literally like the day of, I think. So there was a trade before ours. As you can see, Vancouver acquired Brian Propp and Mark Potvin from Hartford for a 2nd and a 3rd. So Vancouver's made 2 trades, and they've acquired quite a bit of players. Like, I'll show you guys quickly their lineup. because now they have some guys that were in the NHL when they won the cup back, or not won the cup. Man, I wish. When they went to the cup finals in '94. So they do have some of those guys in the minors now. So as you can see, their lineup looks really good. They have Troy Loney now. They have Brian Propp in the lineup. And then I think they also have somebody on the defensive core. Yeah, Bobby Dulles is the other one that they acquired. And then as you can see, they have all 80s as depth. But now in the minors, they'll have to go to the switch this to the minors. I wish you could just switch to the minors in that screen. That would be nice, EA. Make it easier and quicker. But in Utica, you can see they have Sean Antowski playing down there, John McIntyre, Mark Potvin, who they just acquired as well, is down there in the minors, and Nathan Lafayette. So they have some very good depth, and that is probably a cup contending winning team, I would assume. So if Vancouver wins this year as well, I wouldn't be surprised, really. Okay, so let's sim right up to the trade deadline now, since we are not too far away from that. And we will be putting Mike Modano in for this game against the Detroit Red Wings. So he's coming back for a big game. Big divisional opponent. And then also one against St. Louis. So we're going to go right to the trade deadline. See if there's any other trades around the league as well. Just because it's interesting to find out what kind of players fetch what kind of deals. We're getting offered a second or 2 seconds for Pelle Eklund, a third, and Shane Sherlin. No thank you. I don't really want to do that. Mike McPhee and Shane Sherla for a second and third, no thanks. I'm probably not trading anybody else this season. I might make some moves in the offseason if you guys think there should be anyone's. So we got one of our first trades of the trade deadline era almost. So Robert Schwela, who is kind of young in this, I think he's like 24, 83 overall. He's very physical in this. And Patrick Sundstrom, I think that is. There's a lot of Sundstroms on that Swedish team. And a 5th round pick head to the Philadelphia Flyers for 2 first rounders. So Philadelphia loading up for a potential cup run as well. And Mike Modano is back for our lineup. That is huge. How did Stapleton play so far with us? He didn't have any points, but he wasn't minus. Yeah, he wasn't minus, so that's good actually. Okay, so we will take Stapleton out and put in Modano. And then we also got to put Modano back on the power play as well, because I believe we took whoever was off of it. Yeah, we put Dina Vase in there instead. So we'll put Modano in, and we'll move Modano to the top line. There we go. I think that's good. No, that's almost good. There you go. Yep, okay, that is good. So Modano back in the lineup is huge for our confidence. Hopefully it could give us some W's going down the stretch. Game against Detroit, the first game back with Mike Modano. And we tie that one 3-3. So at least we came away with a tie out of that, because Detroit is just a very good offensive team. And I'm pretty sure they're making it back to the playoffs unless they haven't won a lot since, because they fired their head coach pretty early on into this GM mode. So another trade. So Hartford has acquired a first and a second from Montreal in exchange for František Kucera and Paul Ranheim. So the trading is kind of weird, because Kucera and Ranheim are definitely not worth the first and the second, because those guys are like more of like a top, maybe a bona fide top 6 player for Kucera, and then Ranheim is more of like a top 9 forward. So that's kind of a weird trade. Interesting. We'll look all through the trades once we get to the trade deadlines. So Yanni Ojanen and Arto Yavanen head to New Jersey. So Ojanen actually used to play in New Jersey for a brief moment, which is kind of cool. And that's the only NHL team I think he played for. So he heads there for a first and a third that head to the Finland team. Okay. So a lot of the European-based teams are offloading players, which is to be expected. Okay, so Mike McPhee in a third, or Shane Sherla for a second and a third. No, thank you. I don't really want to be making any more deals. Paul Broughton and Justin Dowling. No, thank you. Germany's playing Ty Grosnick, it looks like, from the liners, which is kind of weird. But yeah, we're probably not going to be a playoff team this year just because of how good the Western Conference is. But we are winning games as of late, which is good. That is a pretty big trade just for 2 seconds. Wow. I'm not... Paul Broughton is tradable, I guess, but not Neil Broughton. And Richard Matvichuk has fractured his collarbone. Jeez. Damn, these injuries that we're having are really bad. So we're going to go replace player. That will put in Craig Ludwig into the lineup. But damn, that is a big blow to to the young guy in Richard Matvichuk. Another trade, so Germany has acquired a first and a fourth for Peter Inacek and Mike Height. It's interesting. Peter Inacek used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs, I think, mostly, and then I think he then eventually went overseas. Grant Fuhr in a fourth, head to Finland. So Buffalo finally gets rid of Grant Fuhr. They had him on the block because Dominik Hasek's too good. And Buffalo acquires Danny Lambert, who's kind of like a top 6 offensive defenseman in my opinion, but he's also very physical. And then they also acquire a 3rd round pick and Jari Korpisalo. Yeah, I think it's Jari or Yanni, but it's Jonas Korpisalo's father, so that's kind of cool. No, thank you. Don't want to make any trades. And game against Chicago, I don't want to make a trade, is a tie as well. So yeah, we definitely have been a lot better since Modano's return. We're 25, 34, and 3, but we're still not that good at all in comparison to other teams in the West. Yeah, we're still bottom of our division, and we're way out into the playoff spots. So we're definitely not making the playoffs at this rate. Let's take a look at any trades that happened around the league, just in case there was any other ones other than those big blockbuster ones that popped up. So Florida's acquired a 3rd and a 5th and Jim O'Brien, so that's an AHL player technically for 3rd. Winnipeg has acquired a 3rd, a 4th, and Dale Krentz from Germany for a 3rd and a 3rd. There's the Grant Fuhr trade. New Jersey has acquired Jocelyn Lemieux in a 3rd and Mark Janssens from Hartford for a 2nd and a 2nd. So I think Claude Lemieux is in New Jersey as well at this point in time. So Jocelyn and Claude, the two brothers, are playing together in New Jersey, it looks like. The Rangers acquired Ron Sutter from Quebec for a 2nd, a 3rd, and Darren Radish. Any other trades that I didn't notice? Winnipeg has acquired a 3rd, a 5th, and D. LeBlanc. Is that Drew LeBlanc? It might be. Another AHL player for a 3rd and a 4th. Winnipeg has acquired a 2nd and Cole Schneider, another AHLer, for a 2nd, and Jalen Smerek, which is another AHLer. Montreal has acquired Andrei Tarasenko, so Vladimir Tarasenko's father, and Ty McGinn from Russia for a 2nd and 3rd, and Fairbrother. Wow, quite a bit of trades. Buffalo's acquired Pat Ellinek and Rudy Poshek from Tampa Bay for a 2nd and a 3rd. And there's another trade. Anaheim has acquired a 4th and a 5th for Mark Ferner and Sam Carrick, another AHL guy getting dealt. Edmonton has acquired a 4th in Ivan Kozarenkov for a 4th in Brandon Manning. Funny how Brandon Manning's headed back to Philadelphia for the Miners. And that's it for trades. So a lot of weird trades. Players getting dealt from the Miners, like guys that are like 73 or plus overall. So that's kind of different. Okay. So yeah, let's sim the rest of the season now, get that done, and then since we're probably not going to be a playoff team, we'll go right to the draft, and I'll show you guys obviously the trading block, the draft class again, all that sort of stuff. The good thing about not making the playoffs is this year's draft is pretty stacked, so we should be able to get some pretty good players in, like Daniel Alfredson. If we get the chance to draft number 1 as a high elite, we have another chance also at Lafreniere. There's a bunch of medium elites, top 6 forwards, and really good goaltending prospects. So we should be able to have a pretty good draft, I think, this year. That will definitely help speed up the chance to actually make the playoffs. But yeah, I'm happy that at least Mike Modano's back, because this team is winning games with Mike Modano back. Somehow we lose to Germany 3-1, and we lose to Montreal. Yeah, this team is not as good as its counterparts in this division. I'm surprised that we're below Germany, though, of all teams, because Germany is kind of like a weak link, because they're a bunch of old guys, so a lot of their players might retire within the first few seasons. Game against Winnipeg is a loss as well. There's a 5-0 win over the Kings. Yeah, we just can't win against our divisional teams, it seems like. And Russ Courtnall's been injured till April 5th. Well, that's another big blow. Let's just go replace player. And Richard Matvichuk is back. Okay, so Matvichuk back in the lineup. So instead of Ludwig, he missed like 15 games probably with that collarbone injury. 5-1 win over the Canucks. So we're winning against good teams, but just not ones in our division. It's kind of different. Last few games, Russ Courtnall's back for the final game of the season against the LA Kings, of course. There you go, Russ Courtnall. And are we going to win this one, or are we going to lose? And we lose that one. So we finished the season 34, 39, 5-4. So, I mean, it wasn't a horrendous season because we were pretty close to 500. 73 points. Where does that finish us in the entire league? Above the Mighty Ducks, above the Sharks, above the Russian Cosmonauts, above the Whalers, above the Lions, which is Czech Republic, above the Sens, the Nordiques, and then above the Panthers and the Finland Brown Bears. So, interesting season. Let's take a look at the team standings first, and then we'll take a look at player stats for our team and around the league. And then we will take a look at the draft class and all that stuff. Well, actually, we'll sim up to the draft and then check the trading blocks and stuff like that if we can, which I don't think we can, but we'll see if we can anyways. So let's go to entire leagues. So we didn't make the playoffs, so we were one of the best teams that missed, it looks like, though. Maybe not. So we finished 21st in the entire league with 73 points. Let's see, goals for per game. We were not good at offense, mostly due to the Mike Modano injury, I think. 2.57 goals per game, one of the lowest in the NHL. As for goals against, we were one of the best goals against early to teams, only 2.7 goals against. That's pretty good. So at least our defense is playing decent. Our power play percentage was kind of in the middle, looks like, or let's see. Yeah, it's kind of in the middle with 16.9%, tied with the Quebec Nordiques. We allowed 8 shorthanded goals against, which is one of the worst in the NHL. So we aren't that defensive on our power play, it seems like. Penalty kill, we had the number 1 penalty kill, though, in the entire league, despite allowing 8 shorthanded goals. 88.2%. That's a really good penalty kill. Nice. We only scored 1 shorthanded goal, though. It's kind of weird. Our home record wasn't the greatest. Our road record was worse than that. And yeah, that. So actually, let's take a look at who led the league in each category. So in goals for, the best team was the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not a really big surprise with their roster. The best for, or worst for goals against was the Russian Cosmonauts. The best was the St. Louis Blues. Makes sense as well. Worst power play was Edmonton. The best power play was Pittsburgh, clicking at 26.7%. Wow. The best penalty kill was us, and the worst penalty kill was the Boston Bruins, who actually made the playoffs. Okay, let's take a look at player stats for this season, see who did what. We'll also take a look around the entire league, just because I'm curious on how other guys simulated. So Neil Broughton, 58 points in 82 games. Pretty solid, but obviously he's not as good as Mike Modano, because Mike Modano was over point per game when he did play. 46 games played, 17 goals, 30 assists for 47 points. So hopefully he's healthy all next season, and then maybe we have a better chance to make the playoffs. Evason, 33 points. He also had 17 goals. Gilchrist, 21 points. Kiro, 7 points. And Stapleton had 6 points in 8 games, which is 3 of them came with us, 3 came with Edmonton. So I think he's been a solid acquisition. We'll probably re-sign him in the offseason. Dave Gagne, 67 points in 82 games. Trent Klatt, 40 points in 82 games. Mike McPhee, 29 points. And Pelle Eklund, 24 points. A lot of these guys are minus. Right wing wise, Russ Courtnall had 70 points in 79 games, so pretty good for him despite losing his number 1 center to play with. Mike Craig, 32 points. Paul Broughton, 23. And Shane Sherla had 8 points. As for defensemen, Paul Cavallini, 36 points. That's pretty good. Darian Hatcher, 25 points, but a minus 22. Grant Ledyard, 22 points, but a plus 10 actually as well. That's nice. Mark Tenorti, 22 points, but a -30. So Tenorti and Hatcher, the two big guys, seem to be really slow or something because they are on for a lot of goals against and they take a lot of penalty minutes. So maybe we want to think about moving out Mark Tenorti. Actually, he is on in the last year of his deal. So we might let him go eventually because his plus-minus is not that good. Richard Matvichuk, 7 points, only a -3. Zmolik, 6 points, -3. And Ludwig, 4 points, but a -5 as a depth guy. Goaltending-wise, Moog was 25, 24, and 3 with 5 shutouts, a .918 save percentage, and a 2.54. So actually our goaltending did really well for goals against and save percentage, but we just didn't win enough games, it seems like. Like our offense couldn't stay in those games. Let's take a look at the entire league quickly. So Brett Hull led the entire league in points with 108 points. Wow. Okay, interesting. We only had 100-point player, which is good because in real life there was like maybe 4 or 5, I think. So we're kind of close, I guess, in a sense. The best 4 goals was Cam Neely with 46 goals, and he actually got injured. Which makes sense because in real life he missed a lot of the season, but he had like 49 goals in like 50 games or something ridiculous like that. But he did get injured in the final 3 games of the season. I'm curious on how long he's out for. Because if it's like an actual injury like he had in real life, this could be his career-ending injury, type of thing. So yeah, the next one was Vincent Danfus and then Brett Hull. Mark Recchi were also up there as 40 goal scorers. The best in plus-minus was Gary Galley as a +47. Jeez. So Philadelphia had a really good season. Worst plus-minus, let's just take a look at that. Yuri Letnin. It's kind of unrealistic. Okay. Most penalty minutes this season belongs to Mike Bullard of the Germans, 261 penalty minutes. The best shooting percentage by a guy that played a lot of games, like 82 games or 54. Kelly Chase, 25%. Cam Neely was shooting 19.6% before his injury. Most game-winning goals, Brett Hull. Most power play goals, Cam Neely had 24 power play goals. Wow. Most power play points, Ron Francis with 39. Most shorthanded goals, Randy Gillen with 3, tied also with Esa Tikkanen, Paul Coffey, Mike Eagles, Denny Savard as well. Most shorthanded points, Matthew Schneider had 6, also Dixon Ward, Mike Eagles, and Brent Sutter. The most time on ice for a player was Paul Coffey at 27 minutes. And then the rest of the stuff we don't want to check really. The lead leaguer in points for defensemen was Brian Leach with 79 points, which I think was actually the case in real life. I think he won the Norris, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember off the top of my head. Ray Bork behind him was 77, and Al McInnes was 73. As for goaltending, the best goaltender for wins this year was Curtis Joseph with 44 wins. He had a really good season. The most shutouts this season belongs to Turek, Belfour, and Brodeur, all with 7. The best save percentage by a starter is Curtis Joseph with a .922. And the best goals against by a starter is also Curtis Joseph. So Curtis Joseph's going to win the Vezina easily and the Jennings probably this year. Most points by a goalie is going to be Kelly Rudy with 4 assists. Wow, okay. And Brodeur is up there, which makes sense because Brodeur passed the puck quite a bit. Okay, so yeah, this episode is probably going to run a bit long just because of all that stat stuff, but at least you guys probably should find that stuff a bit more interesting and some of the simulation stuff. So, okay, so we're going to go all the way up to the draft now, which is all the way in June. So all the way to, actually we have retirement still to go through too. You know what, actually I'm not going to sim right up to the draft yet, but I will show you guys the draft class again, and I also will show you guys the trading block if I can. Actually I can't really. No, I can somehow. I know a way to get into it. So I'll do that. So Daniel Alfredson, projected still number 1. Ryan Smith up there. Eliash. We don't know what they are, but I know what they are. So, and then there's also obviously like Holtz, Perfetti. So we're probably getting an elite player no matter what. There's actually an American that's a fake guy. seems kind of enticing too. Yeah, there's quite a bit of good players in this draft. Anybody with good potential that we don't know of. That doesn't like it's like a generated guy. Doesn't look like a... Oh, Conklin might be elite. Huh. I don't know if he is, though. How about goalie-wise? There is some other goalies other than the ones I made. But what do you guys think we should go for, like, at the draft? Like, what do we really need? Because we were a good defensive team. It just seemed like offensively we are kind of struggling. So I think we might need some more offensive players to replace the older guys. Maybe that's something we do. And yeah, let's quickly take a look at the trading block, because I know a way that you can get into the trading block. You should be able to through this screen. Let's see if we can. No, you can't now anymore, I think. They might have actually fixed it. Yeah, they did fix it. Because before you used to be able to click on the player and then go trade for asset, but now you can't. So that sucks. So we can't look at the trading block until we actually get to the draft, but let's take a look actually at... Let's go view lines quickly. And if you guys see anybody through anyone's lineup that you think we could probably target, let me know. I'll just quickly go through this. I'm not going to go through defensemen because I think our defensive core is fine. I'm more going to go through forwards. So if you guys see anybody that is interesting that could help us out. Some of these guys might drop off, be of note that though, because a lot of these guys are older. But I don't know if we want to make any trades really or not this off season, or just pick up free agents, and then the draft as well might help us. Because if we're getting like a pretty good pick, that would be nice. Actually, I probably should still sim up to the draft, so that way you guys can see some of the awards for year number 1. But it's going to be a bit of a long episode and otherwise to get there. Okay, so that is the team rosters that we could potentially make trades for. Yeah, let's go up to the draft still. I'll do a jump cut quickly to when we find out the retirements and stuff. So see you guys in a second. Okay guys, so we did find out the Stanley Cup champion, and as I predicted, it is the Detroit Red Wings winning the Stanley Cup, while the Syracuse Crunch have won the AHL. So Detroit firing their coach early in the season, and then their new coach comes in and helps them win a cup. That's a pretty good story. That's almost like Craig Berube level, except for it was early in the season instead. So let's take a look at all the awards for the season, and then we'll get to the retirements, and then we will get to, I think that's almost it pretty much. Let's take a look at the playoff tree quickly on how each team got there. So New Jersey also got to the finals. So we actually had the Cup Finals of 1995 in our first year simulation, I think. So that's actually pretty cool. So Toronto ended up getting to the conference finals, where they lost in 4 games to Detroit. St. Louis lost in the first round after having a pretty good regular season. Who else we got here? Calgary lost in the second round to Detroit. They did beat LA though in the first round. The Canucks were out in the first round, so no. Yeah, the Canucks didn't even all the moves they made didn't help out at all apparently. Winnipeg got to the second round, which is kind of surprising with that roster. Probably the young guys helped out a lot. Montreal lost in the second round. Buffalo lost in the conference finals. A bit early for them because they went to the Cup Finals obviously in 99. The Islanders lost in the second round. They actually beat the Rangers in the first round, which is kind of surprising. And the Devils obviously losing in the Cup Finals. So kind of a good simulation, I think. Let me know what you guys think of this simulation. Let's take a look at those individual awards and all that. So the Detroit Red Wings winning the Stanley Cup. The St. Louis Blues had the President's Trophy, so they lost in the first round after winning the President's. Not a surprise. That happens quite a bit in simulations. And it was the Detroit and New Jersey final. Brett Hull winning the Art Ross. Brett Hull also wins the Hart. Gary Galley takes home the Norris. Wow. That's kind of weird, because he didn't have as much points as some of the other guys, but I guess he had the best plus minus, so that gave him the Norris over the other two. Brett Hull wins the Lady Byng. Jaromir Jagr takes home the Calder just because it doesn't really make sense in this because there's no guys that are 18, I think, or so, but Jaromir Jagr winning the Calder, even though it's not his rookie season technically. Chris Osgood taking home the Conn Smythe in the playoffs. Curtis Joseph winning the Vezina. Curtis Joseph also winning the William M. Jennings, him and Jim Hrivnik. This is Chris Joseph. Chris Joseph winning the Bill Masterton. C. Waters, the coach for the Philadelphia Flyers, winning the Jack Adams. Mary Lemieux takes home the Selke. Brett Hull takes home the Lindsay. And Cam Neely takes home the Maurice Richard. Interesting. Anybody in the AHL as of note? Probably not. Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay, so let's sim up to that draft. We won't be able to check the trading block, which really sucks, but if you guys think of any potential trades to do, let me know. I don't know who we want to be moving out, though. Maybe somebody like Shane Churla. So the draft lottery results. So we have the 11th overall pick in the draft. So we didn't move up, but we didn't move down either, which is good. Finland has number 1, so Finland's more than likely going to get Alfredsson. Quebec is going to get like Lafreniere, which is kind of cool. Anaheim is probably going to get, in that sense, like Patrick Elias. It sucks that Ottawa didn't finish as low as I was expecting to, because I wanted Ottawa to get Alfredsson like they did in real life, but I guess they won't this time around. Okay, so we also have retirements quickly to do, and then that'll be it after that for this episode, because this episode's already at like 32 minutes, I think. So, retired players. I don't think we lost any of created retired players. That's mostly what I'm looking for. So, okay, actually we did. Basil McRae retires in year number 1 after his team won the President's Trophy, and then he loses in the first round. Quickly look at his stats. 14 points, a plus 12. Nice. Just in case I want to keep track of his points. How did he do in the playoffs? Doesn't look like he did really much. Oh, he did okay. So Basil McRae, a former Minnesota North Stars player, actually retires. And then that is it for created players. And goalie-wise, nobody really either. Okay. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Canadiens, my God, our inaugural Dallas Stars franchise mode. So if you have any suggestions for trades, for players we could go after in terms of off-season and stuff like that, let me know down below in the comments. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.